Hey, party people. I'm Lia Scholl, pastor of First Friends in Greensboro, North Carolina. Thank you for taking time to be with us today, and also happy Pride Month. Yay! I just want you to know that God is proud of you. Today we're on our final message about forgiveness. So be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. I'd like to tell you about my friends Donis and Ghazi Sakran. They were members of my former church and were killed in a terrible car accident in November of 2018. They were lovely people, so full of love and friendship for everyone they met. In fact, at their memorial service, in all seriousness, I said that before I make any decisions in my life, I want to ask WWDGD, what would Donis and Ghazi do? Donis was the most forgiving person I've ever met. If you knew her in that way, at one point, she would tell you about the 7 magic words. In fact, she kept a copy of this in her wallet and a stack of them in a folder in her office. It was from Sidney Harris, a column. And Harris promised that these 7 magic words could help you rise above pettiness and spite, cruelty, arrogance, and greed. These 7 magic words are, and please forgive the gender restrictions, see him as the child he was. Harris writes, remember that he began his life with laughing expectancy, with trust, with warmth, desiring to give love and to take love. And then remember that something happened to him, to turn the trust into suspicion, the warmth into wariness, the give and take into all take and no give. See him as the child he was. You know, it was that phrase that made Donis who she was. One who could see both sides of an argument, one who could love people even when they weren't very nice, me included sometimes. She was so full of compassion and care for others because she saw us all as the child we were. Remember to see her as the child she was. It is the basis of forgiveness. Desmond Tutu says, we cannot create a world without pain or loss or conflict or hurt feelings, but we can create a world of forgiveness. And isn't that just what happened on that day, 7 weeks after Easter? Didn't Jesus' friends create a world of forgiveness? They were all gathered together, and ruach, wind, spirit, blew through the place. Tongues of fire glowed, the sound of wind rushed through, and the people all began speaking in new tongues so that everyone gathered could hear the story. 3,500 people joined their ranks that day, committed to building and creating a new community. They were filled with awe because many wonders and signs were being done. Those who believed were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need. Day by day, as they spent much time together in the temple, they broke bread together and ate their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having the goodwill of all the people. Now you know they had to do a lot of forgiving in order to live like that. You know, Some of the most egregious sins in the world have been forgiven and overcome to create community in the world. Y'all all remember apartheid in South Africa and the truth and reconciliation processes that happened there. But do you know that there was also a truth and reconciliation process in Rwanda? You remember that there was a genocide there in 1994, and 75% of the nation's Tutsis tribe were killed in an horrific attack that spanned 100 days. 25 years later, Rwanda had 6 reconciliation villages, like the one called Mbayo, I think is the way to say it, where genocide survivors and perpetrators live alongside one another. Convicted killers reintegrate into society by publicly apologizing for their crimes. Survivors profess forgiveness. One killer tells the story that he remains haunted by the memories of the screams of helpless women and children. He says, "What we did was terrible, horrible." He killed a woman whose name was Mukalimera. He killed her husband. When he was released from prison, he came to Mukalimera, told her that he murdered her husband, and showed her where he was buried. She says, when he confessed and apologized, I forgave him. She said, I found I could not live with anger forever. I could not live with anger forever. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow said, if we could read the secret history of our enemies, we should find in each person's life sorrow and suffering enough to disarm all hostility. See them as the child they were. At its core, a world of forgiveness is a world where acceptance lives. It's remembering over and over, and maybe even carrying it around in our pocketbook or wallet to see them as the child they were. Amen. Amen.